Welcome Commanders, this is Spartan Vanguard only here, and I figured today we'd just take a quick look at the UNSC Paris frigates in their various configurations, and talk about some of the strengths and weaknesses that we see with them, and the Paris frigates in general. So for starters, we'll do a quick overview of what is a Paris frigate. A Paris frigate, in the lore, is designed to be a very lightly crewed ship. They're designed to be cheap to manufacture in large droves, and that's primarily what we see on the table. They are very, very, very fragile, especially compared to anything Covenant. Even the most basic SDV corvettes can outdo Paris frigates by far with their defense arrays and their point defense. The advantage comes in, of course, with the massive points discount that we're going to have here. So you've got the various configurations. Now, the Trident formation gets an extra damage track and is better at missiles, but missiles are obviously much easier to stop than MAC, which is where the arrowhead formation separates. Now the arrowhead formation sacrifices the damage track, the initial 4 for a 3, which isn't too huge on paper, but in reality it can be quite a big difference. And then we've got the specialist formation, the Shieldwall, which is the 4 frigates and has 4-4-4 across all of its stats. We'll take a look at each of these in turn and just think where it's going to be best suited. The Trident formation, in my opinion, is the best formation that we can get out of the standard box. Its 4-3-3 to me is far more important than that extra MAC dice is going to be. I personally believe that Paris frigates are not going to add very much to any sort of attack vector, or firing solution. So they're really not where you're at. So the Marathon is definitely where the damage is going to come from for the mainstay of the UNSC fleet. A lot of times, however, when you're not including specialist formations, you're going to require some of these to basically have the capital elements. You do need them. They're a bit of a tax, and they fit with the universe, but this is more from a competitive edge. These have to be taken in order to field the bigger ships, which are the ships that are going to actually be giving you the damage that you want to see. So when I'm looking at these, both of these have a build rating of 1. I'm thinking, well, what's going to suit me best? And I would rather take 2 Trident formations and sacrifice those MAC dice and have the extra survivability, meaning that at long range I'm not going to lose that MAC 6, because a MAC 6 group for a standard battle group is incredibly important. I feel like Paris frigates are very easy to break, which fits with the lore, but if you lose that MAC 6, you go from a 100% chance of a vulnerable counter applied to the Covenant, or UNSC in friendly games, green on green as it were, or blue on blue, to a 33% chance. So that is a huge difference, and it's not at all satisfying to have these big groups and have them picked off at long range, which is why I would definitely opt for the Trident formation in the vast majority of cases. I don't actually even think I'd take arrowhead formation outside of scenarios and things like that, and just friendly games, mixing it up with different units. I do very much recommend the Trident from the standard. However, we've also got to add in the Shieldwall formation. The Shieldwall formation, with its track of 4-4-4, is incredibly useful for me. Now, it comes in at 40 points, which is the same as an SDV corvette. It's a bit difficult to compare these two, because it's sort of like the UNSC fleet has been balanced in and of its own within UNSC fleets. I think that overall, I'd prefer an SDV corvette to a Paris frigate, even on the Shieldwall formation, but, you know, this does the job, and for what the UNSC wants it for, I would go for this. Now, for 50 points, I could get these two. Now, they could be either arrowhead or they could be Shieldwall, it doesn't really matter. Sorry, arrowhead, or it could be Trident formation, doesn't really matter. Now, alternatively, I could have this for 40 points. This saves me 10 points, and more importantly than that, when you're getting focused fire, I will choose, as a Covenant player, to take out a Paris frigate at long range if it means that when that battle group gets into close proximity, it's not going to have that MAC 6. We've got a 20-inch range on the Paris frigates for their MAC cannons. Oh, I hate it when I do that. So I shouldn't say MAC cannons, because that's repeating itself, that's an ATM machine, for their MACs. But with a 10-inch movement, you're looking at 30-inch range. So I'm very much okay to sort of stay the outer periphery of that range, or to move in a bit closer and fire a lance at one of these to just pick off a corvette. Sorry, to pick off a frigate and prevent that Mach 6, which, because vulnerable counters are incredibly difficult to stop. So after they're applied, they also take away one of your successes, and it's the taking away of your success that also lowers your first damage track by effectively another one. And it really does stack up, especially if they can get 2 battle groups shooting at you. It's just incredibly unforgiving. In this case, 333, so 9 at range, is entirely doable. With a lance, even at firepower 3, 9 is doable. I mean, the paltry point defense is not going to help that much against any torpedoes that you shoot, but a lance going straight at this could very easily take it out, even if you focus more than you strictly think is necessary, just at range, because I'm talking about those first few critical turns. Once you start getting closer, the Covenant is going to reappropriate targets and start prioritizing the marathons, because they can actually do that kind of damage. But at range, a marathon's a bit of a gamble, unless you've got something like a Solemn Vow battle group or something like that that's got a high attack dice pool. Even at range, you're not going to have enough to necessarily break through. The difference between 9 and 10 is significant, and 9 and 12, or even 10 and 12 here, is very significant. So I usually opt for the Shieldwall. In addition to that, it's 10 points cheaper, it's got a build rating of 2, and so it fills the same role as these two, but it gets me to Mach 6. So with 2 naked marathons, or unsupported, and a Shieldwall, I'm at the Mach 6. I have the sturdiest of Paris elements, meaning that I'm quite likely to survive that initial barrage from the Covenant. So if I don't get first activation, or if my first activation's off somewhere else, I would trust in the Shieldwall to survive most of all. And it is quite good as well. So it has got its 6 attack dice for the Mach cannons, and I did it again, for the Machs, and it's got 4 for the missile battery. So it is quite good, because it's basically just a doubled up arrowhead formation, but it is your eggs in one basket. And your point defense increases by 1, but your titanium armor, I believe, stays the same. Yeah, it stays the same. So it does pay for it in some regards, but I think the 15 point upgrade, meaning that I save the 10, very, very much worth it. Alright, now let's look at Paris Frigates and how you'd want to use them. Harpy groups and things like that are able to move off to the sides. They're very quick, they're very fast, and they're just very versatile. I personally don't like them that much, just because of the sheer fragility, I suppose, of the battle group. It's just too quick to knock them down. And the Mach 6 is really where I'm at. So I am very much, but this is player bias here. Other people have used them to great success. You can very much get in, get close to the action. And they're great at hard burning, like you can sneak in somewhere just so fast. And the Covenant has no hope at all of catching you. And if you can saturate the enemy with fire targets that they're going to prioritize over this, you can sort of sneak these guys in a bit easier. But that's where I feel like it's sort of a catch-22. You want to sneak these guys in after your marathons and stuff they're presenting more lucrative targets, and sort of have these guys get away with it. And they can sort of pick off elements off on the periphery, or even solid ones, because with enough of them, I mean, they can do some serious damage. But you sort of have to present the enemy with better targets that cost more points. And I feel like the vulnerable tokens are really the most important thing for the UNSC. It is what's going to win you the games. And it's just too easy to steal that from this group. All you have to do is knock out one of these and just target an arrowhead, and you've already significantly reduced their output. I mean, sure, the rest of them, 5 elements, cruising around, highly nimble elements, shooting at your flanks, your aft, you know, it can be quite devastating in and of their own, but nowhere near as much as that initial battle group. It's just too easy to remove that first part. For this, obviously, given that they're small attack dice, you really do have to pull them all together. Sorry, a bit of bird there. Puppies are shedding, it's just endless. Meaning that you can't sort of mix it up with the marathons, where you could maybe afford to shoot at all your Machs at a big target, but shoot your missiles off separately. It really is best if you just knock out one element a turn, unless you're going for something small like SDVs. Their speed and their status as a small ship means that they're incredibly quick, and just able to get those arcs and getting them off on rears really is fantastic. The elusive loadout shouldn't be understated. That's very important because the Covenant, unless they're taking like an entirely elusive loadout themselves, battle group themselves, will be shooting at that. So it essentially gives us free cloaking And it can be incredibly helpful, especially closer ranges when they're dealing firepower 5, things like that. You can use terrain to your advantage much easier, just sneaking up behind things. But I feel like with the Paris Frigates, if they want to kill it, they can kill it. So the trick is to have them think that there's a better target out there, whether that's a Marathon somewhere lurking nearby, an Epoch that you might want to sneak in, an Orion, just something harrying them that presents itself as a more lucrative target. Alright, what else can we cover? The lack of hangers on any of these elements is understandably saddening, and so you're investing a lot of points, but wings can be very hit and miss. It depends what the enemy's taking. If you're versing another UNSC player, wings are incredibly useful because you're taking out things like their Paris elements that they're going to have a lot of. But if you're taking out things against the Covenant, where they're always getting these defense arrays, you're really going to be quite hampered, and you need those extra bombers if you want to do anything for it. Another advantage that I haven't considered in this video, I have considered elsewhere, is the fact that this is the most versatile and toughest of the lot. Means that when you use orders such as Stanforth's, if you had the order dice to spare, that is, whatever it takes, and you repaired this, you'd be getting more bang for your buck than if you repaired either of these, because you'd be taking this back to a more hardened variant. Also the Punic and its ability to repair a single damage track on this again would be a better bang for your buck. That said, numbers, there can be something about elements and sheer numbers. I think that's mostly covering what we could use the Paris Frigates for. They are a bit of a tax for me, personally. I enjoy the models, I think they're fantastic, like those scenes in Halo 3 where you've got them descending and dropping off troops. I think that's absolutely wonderful. I think they aesthetically fit within the universe so nicely, and I will be including a painting video how to get them up. So these are all in progress ones. These ones I haven't even started. Just simple grey, some washes, some edge highlights. They're not done at all, but I will cover a painting video on those. But I thought this might be a nice quick video that we could put up to show that A, I'm putting up videos more regularly now, and B, just because the Paris Frigates are one of those things that UNSA players are going to be very experienced with, but they are somewhat transparent in that corvettes and things like that you can use to more dastardly means. You can sneak them around to a little more with them because of their better rules. Whereas these guys, it's pretty clear what you're using them for in their groups. The lack of boarding craft, again, presents options prevents options that you might get otherwise, and so you're investing in points. So it really depends what you're going for. Like these have these fantastic movements. Not that you'd want to really risk having a boarding craft on one of these anyway, because being so fragile, you would not want them to have really any sort of... because you wouldn't want to bet on their durability as they're approaching. If you could maybe sneak borders on ships, various kinds. That might be like an effective thing to do in the future, is if you didn't know which ones had which borders, they had to be assigned to like an element. But with the revamping of the rules, this video might have to be edited down the line, just to make sure that everyone has the most up-to-date information, but that should be it. I opted to do simply the Paris elements for this. So there's no supported marathons, things like that. That'll come in the marathon section, because really that is just a marathon variant, and epochs and all that will come in their own ones. So you'll see all the halberd variants of the marathon, every variant of the marathon that I've got available, and I'll try and get one of each of the models in quite soon so we can do some of these videos, and maybe put up some scenarios that really highlight and showcase what the Paris Frigates can do. I hope this has been of some help to you. Keep enjoying fleet battles, and I hope to see you all on the Ground Command's battlefield very soon. Only out.